this topic has come up before on other podcasts, but we want to elaborate on it a little bit more. It's about time efficiency or time efficient training. And I think that word efficiency gets used a lot. We talk about it in firearms training, right? We talk about it in like just managing our day, you know, and all kinds of stuff. So when it comes to the training stuff and what we're doing here, I mean, there's a lot of things that can get in the way of being efficient, and it can go everything from just poor programming to you get interrupted to it's hours in the day and all that stuff. So let's talk about time efficiency in your training. Like, what does that even mean? So
who are we programming for, and why should they have? Start with that.
Yeah, our population that we program for is law enforcement.
Okay.
And general amount of time that they have to train is an hour to an hour and a half. Some teams get lucky and they have 2 hours, and those are full-time SWAT teams, but those aren't even common. I mean, I would say most have that hour to hour and a half range. So we kind of sum it up with an hour 15 is what our general training timeline is for each session. Reason being so that we can get the most out of them in that time frame that they have. College teams that I've worked with in the past, we had an hour and a half to actually just load up sessions. And then we even had 2-a-days essentially. So a sprint or movement session in the morning and then an hour and a half lift later on in the day. These guys just don't have it.
Yeah,
so
we got a lot of things to do.
Yeah, we got to get the most juice out of the squeeze when we have them. So,
yeah. So I guess if we were looking at that, like, what would we be trying to juice? Like, what are we trying to actually get
in that hour 15?
In that hour 15? What would constitute, like, so we could look back and go, that was efficient. We got it done.
So speed and power, strength, and capacity. So those are three tiers, 3 pillars that we build each session around. And so we're trying to get all 3 of those in the sessions.
That is actually very, let's just say it's not an easy thing to do.
It's not.
If you're not organized. And again, to be specific, those are the things that this population needs, not because we made that up, but because number one, that's what they've told us.
Yep.
Right. And number 2, that's what the research says.
Yep.
So it's not like, you know, when we're coming at this, it's like, we're just deciding, like, no, somebody else decided this. We've just figured out a way to do it really well.
Yep.
Yeah. So
we become efficient in being time efficient.
Exactly. All right. So good. So, all right. So those are the things that need to happen. How the heck do you get it all in there? How do you pack it in there? Like in the day, in the week, in the month, in the training cycle?
So minimal effective dose for the speed and power and the strength work. And then I am not a capacity expert. That's not my jam. I outsource to him, who has a lot of years of experience programming that and does it really well for all his populations he's worked with.
So I think, like, when I talk to you guys and we look through our program, here's what I see. We have all this stuff that we have to do. There's no way we're getting it all done in one day. Right. There's no way you can get all of that done, everything you just said, in an hour and 15 minutes and give everything equal attention.
Right. Yeah, you can't give it equal attention. Some days have to be a little bit more emphasized, and then you take off time on another day to emphasize something else.
So people know this is conjugate style training, right? Yeah. And that we're putting different things in, or we're mix matching them over days. You know, like and people can, this isn't specific to all of the things, but like it's a push-pull or a lower upper type of thing. And then you're giving a certain amount of intensity and a certain amount of volume on one day so that you can then hit that thing another time during the week and be fully recovered from that minimal effective dose that you gave it. So you recovered beyond where you started, so you come back stronger. We give it a little bit more, we give it a little bit more, managing that fitness to fatigue model, if you will. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot to handle. Like,
that's why we have both of us working on it together so that we can kind of evaluate, is this practical? Is this efficient? Is this going to be good enough for them? Do they need more? Do they need less? So,
and that's, we've talked about in other podcasts. That's going to be something we're going to learn as we go.
Yeah.
Like we might, we have a program, we have multiple programs that we think are great right now. And we might get feedback that says, this is too much. This is too little. Right, I couldn't get this done. And now, it needs to come down to, okay, well, let's talk about how you're efficient.
How you're managing.
Was it you or was it me? Were you on your phone in between sets and 2 minutes between back squat reps turn into 5?
Or maybe you just don't have the capacity right now to handle that programming, and you need to build that.
So
we'll
definitely relook at. One question I know we've covered before, but it's good to keep talking about is like, I ran out of time. Something pops up last minute. Like I had an hour 15 to get this. I had an hour 30 to get this done, but by golly, I got called out. Or I had something come up with a family and I got to leave. When I look at this day, or I already know I only have 45 minutes today, I don't have an hour 30. How do I prioritize what you've given me or what is in the program?
So it's already prioritized as how we built it. So if it's in the alphabetical order, A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever, follow that alphabet, whatever you get to,
Great.
shut it down, and it's already in. Like the meat and potatoes are at the beginning.
Yep.
And then all your veggies and supplements, talking that analogy, are at the bottom.
Okay, so
like
what
if you get those are awesome, but you're getting the main thing at the beginning, and then everything else is kind of like a bonus.
So what if so I get to A, B, C, D, but I can't get to E. Am I just like scrap E, or am I moving E?
So you can move E. Yeah, we make it to where there's a flex day on Saturdays in almost all of our programs.
A makeup day.
A makeup day. So yeah, if you can't get to some things, you can just bump it over or shift everything down a day.
I think this is where people are challenged the most. Like I have all this to get in, and like I'm challenged. Like maybe it's an equipment thing, maybe it's a time thing, maybe it's like an energy thing, or there's many reasons.
Motivation, whatever the
case is. I think this is where people are like, what should I do? And then what do they end up gravitating towards when they are pressed for time or they don't have the energy? They generally go to the things that they do really well or that they like the most.
And I think it's nice that Aaron laid out that it's like we took the guesswork out. Yep. Like you got 45 minutes and you can only do ABC, do ABC.
Just do this.
You're done. And then if you can flex the D and E to go to Saturday, game on. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, one thing we can go deep on this one is talking about residual training effects. So how long a particular energy system or effect of training is going to last after you train it. And so we take that into account with the programs as well. So in order of importance, you need to train speed and power every single week, at least once a week, maybe twice a week. Strength you can do that in aerobic capacity. You could do that once a month. So we provide information for that. So if you feel like, hey, I can't get this in, it's not going to kill you if you miss this, but it also plays into why we put the speed and power at the beginning. So you're going to get that.
Because if you don't do that as often, it is a skill or something that can go away faster.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a very
putting it into layman terms for myself.
Totally good, man.
That's great. Yeah, it helps me because I'll sometimes talk a little bit.
So it's
nerdy.
like, it's almost like, so I'm explaining to myself, it's thinking, I'm going to put this back in another perspective. Like I have two skills I'm trying to learn. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to shoot a gun and ride a bike. So I'm going to put shoot a gun at the top of every day because it's something that could disappear quicker. But we all know, never forget how to ride a bike. Right. So I'm going to put that at the end. Is that kind of what we're thinking here?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. What's going to give you the biggest return on investment or the lowest diminishing point of return or point of diminishing returns on that? I think part of this too is like in terms of the programming and what you guys are talking about here is specific to like waking up in the morning and knowing knowing that it's already done for you.
Yep.
Like you just have to do this because in that efficiency piece, I think a lot of time gets wasted with people trying to figure it out.
Let me go find a workout on Instagram real fast.
I don't like that one. Or I don't like
What'd Jacob do today?
I didn't want to think about that. And then that goes back to the like, are we just working out or are we training? That was that whole other topic. So it's already done for you in a sense that I don't even have to think about this. I want you to be intentional in your approach to it. So review it and look at it so you can get your mind right about what you're about to do today. But you don't even have to think about that. And better than that, you don't have to think about tomorrow or the next day or the week after that because it's been put together for you. You can, and if things come up, you already mentioned it. There's some flexibility in there, right? You can move it around. So again,
it's a hard job to program for. It's very different than even military, and definitely different from the sports world because you have a set thing you're training for. You're training for game day and in season, and then if you're not in season, you're training. You have all the time in the world to train, essentially. And so, but these guys, you never know when they're going to get called out. You never know whenever crap's going to hit the fan and they're going to have to go right after they lift or before they lift. How are they going to feel whenever that time of lifting is coming? It happens.
There's no deployments. There's no off season as you mentioned or whatever. So, and you alluded to the programs before and kind of what's available to people, but all of this is programmed into all of our programs, whether you're doing one of our...
We're talking about an overarching concept across the board that will always exist in everything we put out.
Which is much different than, I think, what I've seen out there from a lot of other places where there's these little programs. I don't know exactly where they fit in, but I think I need to train that now. And maybe this one's maybe it's efficient or maybe it isn't.
I actually like it because it's actually pretty because we have 3 programs that are already emphasis-based. So if Scott came to me and said, I am not good at strength, it is already laid out with an emphasis on strength in such a way that if you have the time, you're already getting it. Yeah. Whereas other programs, you're like, okay, well, I need to do strength, but like, where is it in here? And if I don't have enough time, I should just pick and choose. And how many questions I get from people, it's so annoying. But it's a good question. It always happens of like, well, I have this much time. How should I approach this? This is a wonderful, easy, simple solution of being like, Well, just go down the list. You're already in an emphasized program that's perfect for you because we already had you take an assessment and we know that you stink at this, Scott, strength, obviously. And so we're already in the perfect program for you.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds, and wait for it, sounds very efficient.
Boom. Close it out.